Paddy Pimblett was recently talking on the Dave Portnoy Barstool podcast, and he revealed some very surprising information that had been circulating the last few days after his fight, that he only earned $12,000 guaranteed for fighting on Saturday night, with $12,000 being confirmed for the win. So that's $24,000 total, which is absolutely insane. Paddy is usually the kind of guy to kind of take the piss out of things that would annoy him, which is one of the reasons people seem to like him so much. But take a look at this clip with him talking with Dave Portnoy, and it is very, very clear immediately he does not find this funny at all.
Is it true or false? This thing says you made 12 grand for the fight. That can't be right.
Yeah, 12 and 12.
That's not correct? Or is that right?
No, yeah, 12 and 12, so 12 to show, 12 to win.
You got $24,000 for that fight total?
Yeah, and then the bonus.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty clear how much this upsets him, because it really does sound like the punchline to a bad joke. I mean, $12,000, that's £9,000 converted. And you might not be aware of this, but 10% traditionally goes to your coaches, 10% goes to your manager. So what are you left with there? About £7,000? Like, that is absolutely insane. Additionally, the UFC will only pay for one hotel room. So any coaches, any cornermen, you'll have to cover that yourself. So that's at least another grand. Unfortunately for Paddy, the event was taking place in London this time, but previously he had to fly out to Vegas for his debut. And flights from London to Vegas return, also, they will only pay for one flight, so you have to pay for your cornermen and coaches then there again as well. That's got to be at least £1,500 was the cheapest I could see for a return booked about a month in advance. Of course, this is before the other 12 he would receive for winning, and then there's the 50,000 that you get for a win bonus, but that is by no means guaranteed and should not be taken into account as part of his salary. Of course, there's sponsorships as well, but again, this has nothing to do with the UFC. It is only guaranteed to pay him £12,000 or $12,000, and then there's an array of different expenses that he has to cover himself, so he's probably only coming away with 5 or 6 grand. Absolutely ridiculous. To put that into perspective, have a look at the Google search data for last week. During the UFC London, Paddy was actually getting 50% of the volume of all searches for the UFC. So that encompasses not just UFC London, but any fights in the past, any upcoming fights, anyone who was searching UFC, Paddy was getting 50% of the volume of that, which is absolutely staggering. And we can see here that the headliner, Tom Aspinall, only received about a third of the traffic Paddy did. And just for a comparison, Conor McGregor last week, although he hasn't fought in quite a while, was only receiving 1 in 50. It puts into perspective just how much of a draw Paddy Pimblett is for the UFC. And I understand it's his first contract, but he was already the Cage Warriors champion, and we don't know how much exactly he was earning there, but we do know it was enough to pay for and pay off the mortgage for a house in Liverpool. So it really wouldn't be anything close to $12,000, £9,000. I have no doubt that Paddy will be more fairly compensated when he receives his next contract, but it is just a bit laughable that a company that receives over $1 billion in revenue each year can't pay its fighters an acceptable wage. It is absolutely ridiculous. Dana himself said that this was the largest fight night they'd ever had on record. I can only imagine with the 25 adverts they play in between each round. That's not even taking into account the sponsored company logos they plaster over everything but their own fighters' foreheads. This event would have been a huge money generator for the UFC, and it is a damn shame that that is not reflected in the fighters' compensation.